What is up, guys? Welcome everyone to a new golf making video. So this one is going to be about one of the oldest professions in the game. This is going to be about vanilla tailoring. So what I mean by vanilla is basically World of Warcraft before there were any expansions. And you will imagine that this type of profession it's not really doing any golf, and it has a few surprises. Like, it's obviously not incredibly amazing, right? But it's not as bad as I thought. You can make some decent profits on it, and there's sometimes not that many people to compete with. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So so far I have maxed already the profession, so you don't have to, and we will go through the items that I consider them to be worth looking at. And well, it took me about half an hour to get all these like 300 max out profession, and it took me about 20k gold. Now obviously the gold is gonna vary, right, depending of the current state of the auction house, but overall you can expect it somewhere around that, like maybe 15k, 25k, somewhere around that. Yeah. So well, to begin with, I made a TSM group here for myself to make the video. So yeah, you can see I'm just gonna like be talking about the transmogs in general, while I be going through each of them with the mouse, right? So you can see the stats about them. Yeah. So basically, you can see that most of these items they do have overall really low prices, but I have focused mostly on items that have high sale rate, right? So basically, items that even if they are really cheap, they are also extremely cheap to make, and they do have a really good region sale rate, right? So most of of these items are gonna sell really fast, and one of the best ideas you can do for this is to go to a mixed population realm when there is not that many people doing this type of crafting, and you can post some of these for a way higher price than they usually go for. So people buy them anyways because it's still a small amount of gold, right? So you can see I'm on a mid population realm in the NA region in one called Malganis if you wanna check it. Um, so basically you can see this item is going for a region sale average of 6 gold. However, in my realm it's going for 58 gold, as you can see, and this happens quite often. Like, this is not just a special case, right? You can see again this one is going for like almost 100 gold when the region sale average is about 20 gold, right? So well, the first thing about the the main thing I want to mention about this is that all of them are like truly super cheap. You might get discouraged if you see this and be like, wow, this is all so cheap, like there's really no point in doing any of this. But the reality is that they do sell fast, and the crafting costs are like pretty much nothing. Like, almost everything crafts here below 1 gold, almost every item, which makes them extremely profitable if you make the math, when it comes to selling one of these, right? So overall, quite interesting items. Most of them are cosmetics type of items, such as shirts, some that are like trousers, some pants as well. So that type of stuff, right? Some masks, that type of stuff. It's what's selling the best. Also some dresses. So yeah, overall you can see quite interesting. I wouldn't personally go to a high population realm to try to sell this because they are gonna be way too cheap. There's barely gonna be any profit. Instead, I would just go to a mid population realm and just look at this one, right? This one is region sale average of around 18 gold, and then you see a mean buyout of almost 300 gold. This is what I like to see, right? And you might argue that, well, yeah, but you are going to sell them slower. Yeah, I'm going to sell them slower, true. But still, the sell rate is pretty good, and these items, people don't really mind buying them for like just a few hundreds more units of gold, right? Because it's still a really cheap item, right? And then you grab a lot of this, then you are eventually going to make decent profit of this, right? So yeah, that's pretty much for the main transmobs. One of the transmobs that is really worth talking about specifically is the Mooncloth robe. I really love this one. This one is going for around more than 3k gold. The region sale rate is still pretty decent, and you can see in some regions it's going for like 10k. In mine it's going for like 11k right now. In Soma it's going for like 20k. So yeah, and the crafting cost is still reasonably cheap because it's still going for 500 gold. So there are some really good items. Now keep in mind, most of these items you'll just be able to get them by maxing out the profession, but some of these you are also gonna have to get the pattern for them. So if you find any of these interesting eventually, I recommend you to go to the auction house, to a high population realm where the patterns are the cheapest, and just buy whatever you decide to buy, right? So counting patterns and just the items that you just unlock here by leveling the profession already, you will cover about 90% of the crafts you can do, right? Which is amazing. Now some of these are a bit more special, and you'll need to do some quests for them. So we are not gonna go through each of the items in that case, but in that case you can look it up, right? Also, one of the ones that is worth mentioning, however, you'll need to do a quest, is this one, the Word of Cover Suite. This one is really good. This one has a region sale rate of 0.06, which is absolutely crazy. Like, this one sells super fast. It's going for a region sale average of 1k. And in my realm, for example, it's going for 50k. You could be thinking that nobody might buy this for 50k, but I have seen some items sell for slightly cheaper, like for 30k, like for this type of item, right? Why? Because whoever really wants the item, like some people have a lot of gold and they don't mind. In fact, some people, they don't even know what to buy. Sometimes they have too much gold stored and they don't know what to buy. So they eventually see an item and they are like, wow, this is interesting, I want to buy it, and they don't really care that much about paying more, right? So you're gonna play around that. You're gonna make sure that you always try to sell things slightly more expensive in general than what's being sold on the region sale average, because it's not that hard to get some sales for a higher price, right? Personally, I think this one is going to be a bit hard to sell though, because the difference is way too big, right? Like the mean value being of 50k, he might be able to get a sale eventually, right? But I would just do a bit cheaper, because this item is going for like basically almost 1k gold, so I could just try like 10k gold maybe, 5k gold, stuff like that, right? That's what I also recommend you to do, but just try different things, because that way you'll find out what works best for you, right? So yeah, these are the main transmogs. Now I want to mention one last transmog that is really important to mention. This is the Shroud of Forbidden Magic. Now this item requires expensive patterns, so that's the first thing I want to mention. And also this item, it's going for extremely high price on the auction house, right? You can see the region sale average is 156k gold, which is super high, right? The region sale rate is one of an old content transmog, so not too bad, not too good, I would say. But yeah, this alone can make you huge amount of gold, because if you think about it, you are gonna get one of these sold like every once in a while, right? It's gonna take a long time, but you're gonna realize that the crafting cost of these are usually around 30k, 40k, sometimes 50k gold, right? So basically, if you make one of these sales on just the region sale average, which you can easily go for more in a mid population realm, right? But even then, if you will just go for the region sale average, you will be easily making 100k gold. And how much time is that gonna take you? Like, if you make the math for that, like, you're just gonna spend like 2 minutes, 1 minute buying the items, then just crafting the items. So think about it, right? And then you could also do this on different realms, and then you could be making a huge amount of gold that way, right? However, you can expect this to be slow, so it's gonna take months on average to sell, so it's a slow game, right? As it usually is with all content transmogs, right? So yeah, for the transmogs, those are the ones we want to talk about so far. Now we want to talk about one of the materials you can craft, a quite special one. In fact, many people will not ever heard about this material before. So this material is called the mooncloth, right? So this material, basically you need 2 fell cloths. You can buy them on the auction house easily. You can also farm them if you wish to. But yeah, right now they are going for about 20 gold each, and basically you take 2 and you make one of these, right? So the mooncloth is selling right now for 60 gold, right? So one of the things to mention is like this material sells like quite fast, right? You can see the region average daily sold, it's going for 150. And keep in mind that's only getting data from the users that have the same add-on as I'm using installed. So there's gonna be many people that are doing sales and they don't get registered here. So the region average daily sold actually is probably way higher than 150, right? But even if we make the math for 150, you will be making about 20 gold profit for each of these right now, and that will be basically about 3k gold that you are doing super easily, right? So not too bad, not too bad. Quite interesting items. Sometimes it jumps in price massively. Some days ago it was going for around 100 gold, so I was doing about 50 gold profit for it. So that was making about almost 7k gold daily, right? Now when I say daily, it's kind of tricky because usually what happens is that people don't buy this most of the time, like every day. However, there's some days that there's one guy that is restocking his mooncloth for crafting and stuff, and he ends up buying like a very big amount of this item, right? Yeah, and there's also people that every once in a while, usually once every few months, there's a crazy guy that buys all the mooncloth from the market and just reposts them from like, I don't know, from like double or triple the price, right? Which basically means for us that if we are, we have like, let's say 1k unit of mooncloth in the auction house, they are all gonna fly, right? So the guy is just gonna buy all of them. So this doesn't happen too often, but keep that in mind that sometimes it happens, and when it happens, just think about it, how much gold you could easily do. You could easily do maybe like 30k gold just in a yeah in a moment, right? So yeah, those are pretty much the main things we're gonna mention now. There are some other things that you can also craft that I'm not talking about. So you can do both of, for example, room clothes. You can do both of many different type of clothes, right? Now most of these are just so low on the gold per hour, so overall I really don't recommend you to do any of this. So far this is the items I have talked about are the ones that are the most profitable based on the region sale rate mostly, because there are some of these that some of them are expensive, but they are not really worth looking at because the sell rate, for example, such as this one is 0.001, so it's just such a slow sell rate that is gonna take way too long to sell, even for an old content transmog. We will be talking here about maybe 1 year or something like that. So I will not bother. I will just not bother myself. I don't see a point in doing this, and rather focus on items that have high sell rate and such as this one, for example. And even if the region sale average is low, eventually you are going to see some deals where the cheapest of these it's going to be like 100 200 gold, right? And that's where the decent gold is going to come from, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the vanilla tailoring profession. However, I'll need to also mention one thing, that is that in order to craft the mooncloth, you need to be on a moonwell, which is a specific type of like little lake with water, with a few like Japanese style thingies. I'll show you. So you need to move into one of those, right? So what I like to usually do is like try to craft many of these when I actually go to one of those mooncloths, because that way I don't have to be moving so often, right? So instead of just crafting the region average daily, let's say 150, I would just craft like 1k of this and just then move to the auction house and post them, right? So I don't have to be moving that often to the moonwell, right? Now there are a few moonwells all spread over the world. So there is one here. I'm going to show you just this one because it's the closest one. There's also a few ones on the TBC area, on the Burning Crusade expansion area, so you can also use those. But I'll show you this one. You can use this spell, the Teleport Moonglaive on Druids, to instantly teleport there. So by the way, this is on Kalindor, on the Fourth Continent. We are talking about this area, the Moonglaive at the very top. So in here, there are apparently two moonwells, but one doesn't work, so I'm also going to mention that. So you'll see, this is what a moonwell looks like. You can see it's like this Japanese style thingies, and it's just like a little lake, right? So you could imagine that this works, right, in order to craft some of the mooncloth, but this one, it just won't work. It just won't work for some reason. I have no idea why. So however, you can move into this one, right, which pretty much looks the same, but this one for some reason it works, right? So yeah, you can see it requires moonwell, and here it says on white, so that means that you can properly craft the items here as much as you want because they don't have any cooldown, right? So you can, as I said, you can just craft 1,000 of these and just post them on the auction house and they'll sell slowly over time, but you don't have to come here so often. That's one of the tricks I like to do, right? And if you do it that way, also Mooncloth is just that item alone. It's worth leveling the entire profession because it's such a steady income of gold, right? It might not be that much, it might not be a lot, but hey, very easy to do. Just one item, very easy to handle, like very easy to manage, right? And it's just gonna be making you gold every week, right? So yeah, so pretty much, pretty much that's all for the vanilla tailoring video. Um, I hope you found this useful. If you found this useful, please consider dropping a like. And also, if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Yeah, that's all for now. So I wish you a good day and see you in the next one.